Jeremiah 39. This is how Jerusalem was taken. In the 9th year of Zedekiah king of Judah, in the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon marched against Jerusalem with his whole army, and laid siege to it. And on the 9th day of the 4th month of Zedekiah's 11th year, that's about a year and a half later, the city wall was broken through. Then all the officials of the king of Babylon came and took seats in the middle gate. Nergal-Sharezer of Samgar, Nebo-Sarsekim, a chief officer, Nergal-Sharezer, a high official, and all the other officials of the king of Babylon. So they've come in and they have sat down in the city of Jerusalem. They are now in control. When Zedekiah, king of Judah, and all the soldiers saw them, they fled. They left the city at night by way of the king's garden, through the gate between the two walls, and headed toward the Arabah. Keep that in mind, because when we get to Ezekiel, we're going to read, I read a little bit out of Ezekiel just a moment ago, but Ezekiel in Babylon, he's actually in Babylon. He is not in Jerusalem like Jeremiah is. Ezekiel is in Babylon. And he is going to be predicting this to the captives who are already in Babylon at that time. So he's giving us a perspective of those who have already been taken to Babylon about the people who are still in Jerusalem. Jeremiah is in Jerusalem. And so Ezekiel is acting out these things in front of the people who are in Babylon, the fellow captives who are in Babylon. They're not in Jerusalem to see this happen. So Ezekiel is being told about these things by God, and he is acting them out in front of the people with these weird sort of street performances he's doing. He's going to be doing a performance about this, about Zedekiah's flight out of the city. So keep that in mind. But the Babylonian army pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. They captured him and took him to Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he pronounced sentence on him. So they're seeing each other face to face, like God told him he would. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also killed all the nobles of Judah. Not the women, apparently. We're going to read about the king's daughters still around later on, a few chapters from now. And we mentioned earlier about the women. In the last chapter, we read about the women of the household laughing at him. So apparently the Babylonians didn't kill the women of the royal family. I'm not sure what they did with them. Some of them were left in the land and went down to Egypt with the rest of the survivors. But who knows? That's actually one of the mysteries. What happened to the remaining women of the royal family of Judah at that time. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also killed all the nobles of Judah. Then he put out Zedekiah's eyes, so he was forced to see his sons get slain, and then he was blinded, and bound him with bronze shackles to take him to Babylon. The Babylonians set fire to the royal palace and the houses of the people, and broke down the walls of Jerusalem. Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard, carried into exile to Babylon the people who remained in the city, along with those who had gone over to him, and the rest of the people. But Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, left behind in the land of Judah some of the poor people who owned nothing, and at time he gave them vineyards and fields. Now Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had given these orders about Jeremiah through Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard. Take him and look after him. Don't harm him, but do for him whatever he asks. So they knew about Jeremiah. Now, Jeremiah had delivered prophecies to Babylon. Of course, the prophecies were about Babylon's judgment. But he had said that Nebuchadnezzar would be successful in all he set out to do. So Nebuchadnezzar apparently knew this about Jeremiah and had told his people to find Jeremiah, specifically to seek him out and make sure that he was taken care of. For whatever the reason, Jeremiah had found favor in Nebuchadnezzar's eyes. So Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, Nebuchadnezzar, a chief officer, Nergal-Sharezer, a high official, and all the other officials of the king of Babylon sent and had Jeremiah taken out of the courtyard of the guards. They finally found him. They turned him over to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, to take him back to his home. So he remained among his own people. Oddly enough, Jeremiah, being in prison at the time that the city fell, might have saved his life. Because he was confined, he might have been avoided the brutality of the purge when they got in there and started sticking their swords in people. While Jeremiah had been confined in the courtyard of the guard, the word of the Lord came to him. Go and tell Ebed-Melech the Cushite, that's the guy who saved him from the cistern earlier. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. I am about to fulfill my words against this city through disaster, not prosperity. At that time they will be fulfilled before your eyes. But I will rescue you on that day, declares the Lord. You will not be handed over to those you fear. I will save you. You will not fall by the sword, but will escape with your life, because you trust in me, declares the Lord. Ebed-Melech was a Cushite. He was probably a eunuch. He was a foreigner. He was in the low rung of the caste, of the social caste. But God saved him. He listened to God. He trusted in God, and God saved him. The word came to Jeremiah from the Lord after Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard, had released him at Ramah. He had found Jeremiah bound in chains among all the captives from Jerusalem and Judah who were being carried into exile to Babylon. This must have been some kind of a mistake. The text doesn't actually say this. This is one of those things where the author, the ancient Hebrew author who wrote this down, is assuming that you'll make the connection in your own mind. He doesn't have to spell it out for you. But Jeremiah was specifically singled out by the officials to be saved and spared. And yet at some point he must have been taken along with a bunch of others and put in chains and brought to this deporting capital, Ramah, the place they were, basing their deportations out of. Partly by accident, partly by mistake. We don't really know. The text doesn't actually say, but Jeremiah had apparently been mistakenly captured at some point after being set free and was on his way to being deported when he was found. When the commander of the guard found Jeremiah, he said to him, the Lord your God decreed this disaster for this place. They must have known about Jeremiah's prophecies. Maybe Ezekiel's too, for that matter. And now the Lord has brought about, he has done just as he said he would. All this has happened because you people sinned against the Lord and did not obey him. I do not know. I genuinely do not know whether this guy actually said this or not. Okay? In ancient writing, it was very common for writers to put words in the mouths of people to make a point. Like if you read a lot of ancient documents, you'll see these ancient writers have other characters speak these speeches, which may or may not be what those people actually said. That's what the words the writer put in their mouths during his writing. So, did this guy actually say this? He might have said something that was similar to this. He might have. It's hard for me to believe that a Babylonian official is going to be this crystal clear about Israel's theology. So I don't know if he put it necessarily in these words, but whatever he said to Jeremiah must have expressed this thought. And then when the Hebrew prophet wrote it down, he wrote this guy's speech down this way to communicate this point. But today I am freeing you from the chains on your wrists. Come with me to Babylon if you like, and I will look after you. But if you do not want to, then don't. I'm not going to make you. Look, the whole country lies before you. Go wherever you please. However, before Jeremiah turned to go, and so he decided not to go with them to Babylon. He was going to stay in the land. Nebuchadnezzar added, "Go back to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon has appointed over the towns of Judah, and live with him among the people, or go anywhere you please." Then the commander gave him provisions and a present and let him go. So Jeremiah went to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah, and stayed with him among the people who were left behind in the land. So Jeremiah has no desire to live in Babylon. His intent is to stay here and work with the survivors who are in Judah. This Gedaliah guy we've seen before, this is the son of Shaphan, and that Shaphan was a scribe of Hezekiah's day. So this is a good guy. So he's the one that's been appointed to be the leader of the people by Nebuchadnezzar at this point in time. When all of the army officers and their men who were still in the open country heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, as governor over the land, and had put him in charge of the men, women, and children who were the poorest in the land and who had not been carried off into exile in Babylon, they came to Gedaliah at Mizpah. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, Johanan and Jonathan, sons of Kariah, Sariah, son of Tahumeth, the sons of Ephah the Netophathite, and Jazaniah, the son of the Machathite, and their men. Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, took an oath to reassure them and their men. "Do not be afraid to serve the Babylonians," he said. "Settle down the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it will go well with you. I myself will stay in Mizpah to represent you before the Babylonians who come to us. But you are to harvest the wine, summer fruit, and oil, and put them in your storage jars, and live in the towns you have taken over." So try to rebuild your lives. Jeremiah basically told the people in captivity in Babylon this back in his letter in Jeremiah 29. To settle in your houses and build them. You live lives. Don't keep pining over hopefully returning to the land right away. It's not going to happen. Settle down and live your lives. Have children. Get your children married off. Make careers for yourselves. Make homes for yourselves. Gedaliah is saying this to people surviving in the land too at this time. The disaster is over. Let's try to rebuild now. When all the Jews in Moab, Ammon, Edom, and all the other... let's go ahead. When all the Jews in Moab, Ammon, Edom, and all the other countries heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant in Judah, and had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, as governor over them, they all came back to the land of Judah, to Gedaliah and Mizpah, from all the countries where they had been scattered. And they harvested an abundance of wine and summer fruit. Let's go ahead and start a new video.